What is up, guys? TopTierYugioh here, and today I just want to share with you an updated Zoodiac deck profile for the June 2020 format. And I've got to be honest with you guys, I love this deck. I've been having a ton of fun and success with it online. I just really love continuing to learn the ins and outs of this deck, the various tactics and strategies you use to sort of navigate yourself to victory. It's super interactive, and it's just, again, a ton of fun. And so if you guys are looking for a relatively cheap deck that's good enough to give you a shot against anything else, I'd 100% recommend Zoodiacs. Or if you're just looking for something fun, I'd again recommend Zoodiacs. This deck is great, which is why you should go ahead and smash that like button. And don't worry, I'll wait for you to do it. Cool, thanks. So let's go ahead and get into that profile. Alright, so to start off with the Zoodiac monsters, we have 1 Rat Pier, 3 Rams, 3 Thoroughblades, and 3 Whiptails. This is super standard. You're going to see this in every single Zoodiac deck. You really just want to maximize on your Zoodiac monsters so that you always have a play, because each of them equals a Drident and the rest of your Zoodiac engine. So you really want to max out on your Zoodiac cards, as well as them also having really good individual effects, which is why we also play 1 copy of Cataroost as well as a copy of Bunny Blast to round out our Zoodiac engine. And I think both of these cards are new additions, and they're both really good as well, especially against the format. And so Cataroost I like a lot against Outlich, because the effect that it gives your Zoodiac Seas monsters when it's attached is that they can't be targeted by monster effects, or if they are targeted by a monster effect, you can just detach to negate that effect. And this comes up really clutch against Outlich, because that means your opponent can't use their Golden Lords to clear your Drident. And so if you can have a Drident attached with the Cataroost, they're going to be in a really good position, because how do they out that? So if they try to use Golden Lord's effect, then you can just negate it with Cataroost. If they try to use Conquistador, you can just chain Drident and destroy it. If they try to attack over it, you can maybe attach a Whiptail and then banish their Golden Lord. And so it just becomes really tough for them to deal with. Cataroost really solves a big issue in that matchup. And it also comes up in other matchups as well. Again, it's also just a Zoodiac monster, so it can start your plays too. So it's just super versatile, but especially against Outlich, I found it to be almost necessary. And then for Bunny Blast is a really good card in this deck. It's similar to Ram in that it gives you a card back from your graveyard once it's destroyed, and whether that be triggering it ourselves by popping it with Drident or letting our opponents get rid of it, it's going to add something back to your hand and give you a follow-up play. And so a really common play that I like to make actually is to normal summon Rat, dump Bunny Blast, and then bring it back with Chakanine, continue making some Zoodiac plays, make a Drident, and then use Drident to pop the Bunny Blast, and then add back Rat. So that way I'm getting a lot of value out of it on my turn by starting my plays, but I'm also ending with Rat in hand again to play again on the next turn to send maybe a Ram or to send a combo if I want to, recycle everything back. There are a bunch of different plays that you can make on that turn too, that this play on turn 1 enables. And so I really like Bunny Blast as well. The only thing that I'm a little concerned with regarding this lineup is just the number of normal summons, because this is 12 normal summons. That's a lot. But one thing that you have to keep in mind is that you do always want that follow-up play on the next turn. Like I mentioned, that's incredibly important in this deck, and whether you're doing that with Rat and Bunny Blast, even just having that secondary normal summon can be not terrible, because it's going to guarantee you a play on turn 2, because you're not going to be winning on turn 1 with just the Drident. But then the other thing that you can do is that, like if one of them is a Whiptail isn't necessarily a normal summon. You have Thoroughblade, which can discard them and maybe draw another card. So if you feel you might need some more defense, Thoroughblade can get you there. If you open with Thoroughblade and Ram and then another Zoodiac card, you can draw 2 cards. There's a combo for that, to where you're triggering Thoroughblade twice. And that can be really big as well. And so even though this is 12 normal summons, 12 Zoodiac monsters, there are ways out of it. Again, with Thoroughblade, Whiptail is not always, a normal summon. And then also, it kind of gives you follow-up plays. And so it's not as bad as it sounds. It's not good, it's not perfect, but it's not bad either. And it definitely serves a purpose in this deck. And now for the hand trap monsters, we have 3 copies of DD Crow, 3 copies of Ash Blossom, and then 3 copies of Nibiru. I think these are just simply the most versatile hand traps right now. I think they're the best. Crow is good against everything, Ash is obviously good against everything, and Nibiru is good against the things that you need to worry about. So whether that be at Emancipators, combo Outlich, random rogue decks like Salamangreat, Nibiru is good against all of them. If Nibiru is not good against that deck, then the deck is slow enough for Zoodiacs to be able to handle with their own engine. and so that's also fine. And so I find that these hand traps are just the best ones right now. Something else that I was heavily considering was the new Ghost Girl from Eternity Code, Ghost Chill or whatever it's called. That card's actually pretty good. It can deal with a lot of threats as well. The only thing that I didn't like about it versus these was just it's a little bit less versatile because you can only use it on summon. You have to target a monster. It doesn't do anything against back row, whereas these are good against back row cards as well. So like you can Ash a Scarlet Sanguine, you can DD Crow an Eldritch Trap in the graveyard. You can deal with things in very different ways instead of having to wait for the summon and then target a monster. Like the card is good, but I just felt that we didn't have the space for it because of the other things that we play. And this deck is already over 40 cards. This is 42. And so I didn't really want to add to that either. So the new Ghost Girl is good, but don't spend $40 on it yet because I don't think it's absolutely necessary. So that's pretty much the hand trap lineup. We are also playing 2 copies of Impermanence, but we'll get to that when we get to the traps eventually. But the only other monster that we are playing in this deck is 1 copy of Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Buffalo. This is the spicy tech of the deck. So what you can do is you can activate Tinky, you can search and add this to your hand, then you can normal summon it, then you have 3 other hand traps in your hand maybe, and then you can pass turn. I'm kidding. This is an engine requirement that we play for a combo that I'll get into after we talk a bit about the extra deck, where you're going to see where it comes into play. But this is an engine requirement though, so keep that in mind. It's the only one in the deck, but it's fine. It is another normal summon, which sucks, but it's okay. Not really a big issue. Moving on to the spell cards, we have 1 copy of Barrage, 3 copies of Tinky, 3 copies of Pot of Avarice, and then 2 copies of Pot of Desires. These are just all incredibly powerful cards that we play for obvious reasons. I'd say it's pretty standard. The only thing that's maybe not standard is the 3 copies of Pot of Avarice. I've seen some lists play less, and even I will side them out at times. I think it's important to play in the main deck though, because when you're playing against grindier matchups, which you never know what you're going to be playing against these days, but when you're playing against a grindier matchup, you need the ability to grind. You need to be able to shuffle your resources back, because every single turn you will easily go through 5 monsters simply just in the extra deck, not counting what else is in your hand, not counting what you dump with a rat or what you're discarding off of a Thoroughblade. So it's very easy to get more than 5 monsters in the graveyard. You can even do it on turn 1. And so it's just super important to play recycles your resources, and without it you're going to lose the game, because you're not going to win from a single turn in this deck, and if you don't have the ability to play on a future turn, you lose. And so you have to have Avarice or Combo. Not having either of them is almost always going to mean you lose that game. And so I felt it important to max out on each of these. And now I did mention that sometimes I'll side it out, and again, I've seen lists that don't play it at 3. And the reason for that is because there are a lot of matchups right now to where you don't need to grind. So if you're playing against Adamancipators, that's not a grindy matchup. You either lose off of their board, or you win off of you not letting them make that board. And so you really don't need Avarice in that matchup. I mean, maybe 1 or 2, but you definitely don't need 3, and you definitely don't need to see it every single game. And it's just not as important there. Same against Combo Eldritch. You don't really need 3 copies all the time unless it gets really grindy. Like, I think 2 is enough in most cases. Combo is different. You still want to max out on combos in that matchup because it serves other purpose, such as getting Cataroost under your Drident to protect from Golden Lord, or getting that Ram or that Whiptail to keep them from attacking over it. You still need combo at 3 in my opinion, but Avarice is a little bit less impactful there because it's just so heavier on the first couple of turns rather than grinding out through the entire game, or through a long game I should say. But this is, I'd say, a pretty good spell lineup that I've again been having a ton of success with. But the only other spell card that we play is something that I've been testing, something that, let me know what you guys think about this, but I've been testing a copy of Foolish Burial. And I've really been enjoying it because it's sort of like a pseudo rat peer. So what you can do with this is you can dump something like, a Ram, and it turns any of your other Zoodiac monsters into a combo. Or maybe you want to dump a Bunny Blast and then bring it back with Chakanine, pop it with Drident, and get yourself a follow-up play. So you can do that play, or you can even send something to the grave to equip with Tiger Mortar. So there's a lot of really neat things you can do with Foolish Burial plus a Zoo monster. And I've been enjoying it, especially because we play so many Zoodiac monsters. You're almost guaranteed to be able to make a play, and so it can sort of be an extender in that regard. So I've been enjoying it. It is bad in simplified game states, that's a fact, but it is good when you're starting out the game. So let me know what you guys think about that. I've been enjoying it. Let me know what you think about this card. Do you think I should maybe swap it out for something else, or maybe just cut it. Once again, this is 42 cards. We could cut down to 41 for a little bit more consistency, but I personally don't think the number of cards in this deck matters as much as it would in other decks, just because we already have so many Zoodiac cards. Once again, we have those 12 Zoodiac monsters. We have Barrage, Triple Tinky, 2 Avarice. It's very easy to get to your Zoodiac cards, so, you know, consistency is not a problem. But let's go ahead and get into the trap cards. Okay, for the trap cards, we have 3 copies of Zoodiac Combo, 3 copies of Goes in Match, 2 copies of Solemn Strike, and 2 copies of the aforementioned Infinite Impermanence. I think the one thing that is a standout card is Goes in Match. Goes in Match is one of the few floodgates I think that really works against every deck this format. Or not every deck, like you play against Salamangreat and, you know, they will laugh at your Goes in Match, but against the real decks that are threats like Adamantipator's, Outlich, Goes in Match is key, because in both of those matchups they're using a multiple different number of attributes. So in Adamantipator's, most of their monsters are rocks or earth, and then their extra deck is not earth, like Needle Fiber is not earth, Phoenix is not earth, which would be the out to it, but I don't even know if they still play Phoenix, but whatever, there aren't any earth outs to Goes in Match, but a lot of their starter cards are earth, and so this is an auto win in that matchup. And then when you're playing against Outlich, if they're playing the combo variant, then again, they're not going to be able to deal with this. Jet Synchron is fire, and then none of their other monsters are fire, so I don't like. There's nothing they can even do at that point. Next, we have the 2 copies of Solemn Strike. Solemn Strike is a super versatile card that I've been loving. I love how it's great going turn 1, just being able to obviously stop your opponent from doing things, but it's also good in future turns. So if you can hold that strike until later, sometimes you can use it to stop like a hand trap or to just be creative with it. It's such a flexible card, and I just love that in this deck, because this deck isn't very rigid at all. Like, once you get into the meat and potatoes of a game, anything can happen, and Strike is a card that can stop nearly anything. But the only thing that I've been considering switching it for is another card that can stop anything, that being Solemn Judgment. And the reason I've been kind of considering Solemn Judgment is because if you're playing against Adamantipator's, their main out for Goes in Match is going to be Lightning Storm, and so Solemn Judgment's going to stop that Lightning Storm, and that's actually huge in that matchup, because they're going to be able to play through a Drident. They can play through 2 or 3 disruptions, and Goes in Match is maybe the one card in our deck that they can't easily play through, and so being able to stop their out to it is very, very important. And then the same thing in or not the same thing, but in Outlich, that's another reason why I like Solemn Strike. It's because this stops their out to Goes in Match. This can stop Golden Lord, and so that can be key. Doesn't stop Conquistador, but Judgment does. Judgment stops Cosmic Cyclone, Twin Twister. So it's kind of like a trade-off with what stops what out to Goes in Match. Definitely a tricky situation, but you can play either one. I think both are really good. And then finally, the Infinite Impermanences we talked about before, but that's it for the trap lineup. I think it's mostly pretty self-explanatory, and I spent way too long explaining it. So let's go ahead and move on to the extra deck. For the Xyz monsters, we have 3 copies of Chakanine, 2 copies of Tiger Mortar, 2 copies of Boarbow, and 1 copy of Hammer Kong, and then finally, Best Girl Drident. So this is again pretty standard. The only thing I think is maybe arguable is the number of Tiger Mortars and Boarbows. For me personally, I find the second Boarbow to come up a lot more than the third Tiger Mortar. I've seen some lists, they'll play 3 Tiger Mortar, 1 Boarbow. And I think the second Boarbow comes up a lot, especially, well, online this isn't a big issue, but in person, being able to deal quick chip damage with Boarbow I think is really important. For the Link monsters, we have 1 copy of IP Masquerena, 1 Borreload Dragon, 1 Megaclops, 1 Appaloosa, and then 1 Avramax. And finally, we have the spicy card, 1 copy of Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Eagle. If you guys are unfamiliar with this card, it's not very common at all, but what it does is that you can activate Fire Fist monsters without sending Fire Formation cards from your field to the graveyard, and then also you can target 1 Fire Formation card that's on your field or in your graveyard, add it back to your hand, and then send the Fire Fist monster from your deck to the graveyard. This is huge for a bunch of reasons. One, you saw Buffaloes in the deck, and Buffalo summoned itself from the graveyard, where this card sends it, so it's a free summon. But also you're adding Tinky back into your hand, which again gives you a follow-up on your following turn, which is very, very important for this deck, because again, you need to have a follow-up. You're not winning on turn 1. This gives you a play on turn 2, as well as obviously extending more into your turn 1. So this is very, very important, and I'll show you guys a combo with that pretty soon actually. Let's just do it right now. Alright, so for this combo, all you're going to need is 1 copy of Fire Formation Tinky. And the cool thing about this combo is you also don't need to start with Tinky. You can also like draw into any Zoodiac monster later in the game while you already have Tinky on board and a loaded graveyard. This also works. So you don't have to like physically start with the Tinky, but if it's turn 1, obviously you do. But the way this combo would work is you would start by activating your Tinky. Then with the Tinky, you're going to add a rat to your hand, obviously. Then you normal summon the rat, and it's going to go very similarly to the Infiniclops Megaclops combo. And so you're going to activate Rat's effect. You're going to dump Ram to the graveyard. Next, you're going to make Chakanine, activate Chakanine's effect, detaching the rat to special summon the Ram to the board. Now you can summon Drident. Activate Drident's effect by detaching the Chakanine, targeting the Ram. Ram gets destroyed. Ram's effect triggers. Summon back the Chakanine. Now you go into Tiger Mortar effect. Detach the Drident and attach whatever you want under the Chakanine. Doesn't even matter. And now you activate Chakanine's effect to bring back anything else from your graveyard. If you have a combo, sometimes I like to bring back a Drident because you can use combo to equip something or to attach something, but I guess in this combo it really doesn't matter. But just any of your monsters. Again, very similar to the Megaclops combo, but from here it's a little bit different. So what we can do now is we can link 2 Beast Warriors into our Eagle. Now we can activate Eagle's effect to add the Tinky back to our hand, again giving us a follow-up on the next turn, and then dumping Buffalo to the graveyard. And now we have, because of Eagle's other effect, Buffalo doesn't need any other fire formations on the field to activate its effect. We can just special summon it for free from the graveyard, which is insane. So we can just special summon Buffalo. And because this was summoned with the Chakanine, we can't traditionally use it for like a link summon or an Xyz summon. We can't like overlay them. We also can't use this for a Zoodiac Xyz either. You can't use it for any Xyzes, but we can link with it. And so what we can do is we can link all 4 of these into whatever link 4 we want. We can go into like the Appaloosa. We could go into Boarload. We could have went into Megaclops if we wanted to, like if we didn't bring back the Ram. If we brought back like the Drident, we could have used all 3 of those Xyz monsters to make Megaclops. So again, this combo can make Megaclops, but Megaclops isn't always the best answer. Sometimes a Boarload or an Appaloosa or an Avarice, sometimes other things are better than Megaclops. And so especially like if you're going first, this can give you 3 disruptions versus just that 1 Drident, or 0 disruptions if you have Megaclops. So that can be very useful. Something else that we can do is, if we go back a step to where we had this board, we can link those into IP Masquerena. And then on the opponent's turn, we can link those into an Avarice. And the Avarice will have Masquerena's effect as well to not be able to be destroyed. That can be huge. Or we can do this and link these into an Axis Code Talker. And now the Axis Code Talker is going to have 4,300 attacks. So you have 2 link monsters with different attributes. And then we can also, or that's not why, because we can target one of these and it'll gain the 1,000 times the link rating. Gotta remember what Axis Code does. But this will give us 2 cards that we can banish from the graveyard to destroy cards on the opponent's side of the field. So that can be big if we have Axis Code Talker. It's good with Avarice, good with a lot of things. So I definitely like that play as well. So again, this combo just gives you access to these incredibly useful cards, gives you a follow-up play, and all it takes is 1 card. And again, you don't even need this card to start with. If this is just sitting on your board from turn 1, and then your next turn you decide to normal summon a Bunny Blast, you could do like the exact same thing. And so a super powerful combo that I really enjoy a lot. Yes, we do have to play an engine requirement, which sucks. It does hurt the consistency a little bit, but I think the payoff is far greater. And so as you guys saw in that combo, it's very easy to go into your Link 4s in that play, which is why, again, we're playing them. A lot of Zoodiac decks don't play Link 4s because they're incredibly cumbersome to generally make, but with this combo, it's not very difficult at all. And so Boarload is really good when clearing boards, especially with Dark Ruler No More. Megaclops you can obviously make without it, that's fine. But Appaloosa means that you can make more than 1 disruption out of just a single Tinky, whereas without it, the most disruption you're getting from this is going to be like just Drident, which is in a lot of cases not enough. And then Avarice can also be very good in various matchups, especially if you summon it with Masquerena. And so what you can do is make Masquerena first, then make the Avarice. Then your Avarice can't be targeted, it can't be destroyed, and then when your opponent does finally deal with it, you shuffle something back into the deck. And so that's not only hard to deal with, but it's also disruptive. So that can be difficult for a lot of decks to deal with. And so I really like that this combo and Eagle give you access to that. Now, another thing I would also mention is that we have a lot of different attributes of Link monsters. We have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different attributes of Link monsters. We could play Access Code Talker. It's kind of difficult to get all of these in the graveyard together, but within that last combo, we could actually go into an Access Code Talker and at least get an IP Masquerena and an Eagle in the grave, which would be 2 attributes. We could summon Access Code, pop 2 cards, also have it at 4,300 attack. That can be very big too. And so Access Code is also an option. I personally found that, if I were to take anything out for it, maybe be Avarice, but I found that Avarice is just better in this deck. I should say. Like, it's gonna win you more games just because it's hard to deal with. Whereas I found that Access Code, at least in the very little bit that I tested it, I found that it just like didn't do as much as I would have liked. Like, what matchup do I need to clear 2 cards that I don't want a Boarbow to take? Like, what monster am I clearing that I would not rather have control of? What spell or trap am I trying to destroy, yet I'm allowed to even get that far in a combo, So I found that Access Code wasn't not as impactful as I would have liked. Alright, so I definitely like Boarbow a lot more for monsters. Backer I find to not be an issue. If it is an issue, you're not making a Link 4. And Avarice is a game winner at times. And so that's an option. I personally chose against it, but you could maybe try it out. But yeah, that's it for the main and extra deck. Let's go ahead and get into the side deck. Let's see, 1 copy of Pankratops. I think it's just a very versatile card, good against a lot of matchups. It kind of serves as like a pseudo Drident. Very good going first, going second. Maybe not going first, but definitely going second. It's good. A lot of times it clears with 2 cards because you can attack over something, use the effect on something else. Very useful. Next, 2 copies of Phantasme. I like Phantasme a lot right now because so many decks are running through Needle Fiber. So it's super easy to get out on the board. It's going to help you draw into the other cards that are going to help your consistency a lot more. Like drawing into something like a Desires can be huge. Drawing into more disruption like a Nibiru, an Ash, a DD Crow, also very big. And if you're playing against a deck that you need to side more against, drawing into that can be very useful as well. Drawing into something like Evenly Matched can be very huge, or Mystic Mine, or Dark Ruler No More. All of those are great cards to draw into with Phantasme, and each of them are also good on their own, obviously. And the final 3 cards in the side deck are 3 copies of Cosmic Cyclone. This I'm maybe a little bit iffy on because in Eldritch I don't think the matchup goes to where you're generally trading resources 1-for-1 like this. If you are, you're probably already in a very good position. But I felt that Cosmic Cyclone just adds to that. It's also good in more rogue matchups. If your opponent has Floodgates, you really want to out to that as well. So I do like Cosmic Cyclone a lot. But that's pretty much the side deck. It's super simple. Again, it just depends on what you're playing against and what you find yourself, what you think you'll be playing against or what you are playing against. You guys know how side decks work. What am I talking about? Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave them down in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next one.